Hello, fermented folks, and welcome to another episode of Fermented Fiction. Colin has even officially joined the chat. He's just made it just in time, and so has Travis, and so has Jeremy, and so have I, Clay. And if you're new to this show, what we're about to do is we're about to debate a horror movie that we have chosen all together, and we are going to roll dice, and we are going to drink beer, and we're going to do all that with a fabulous guest, one of our favorite returning veterans, Djeli Clark. Thank you so much for coming back on the show, man.
It's great to be here again.
Oh yeah, last time Fenderson was on, he debated the Wheel of Time TV show with Travis here, and that was a great time. That's in the archives if you want to go check that one out. But today we're going to be talking about Sinners, so we're very excited to get into this. But before we do, we always like to do a little round of personal updates, get you all up to speed on what's going on with us as humans. We'll start with you, Jeremy. We'll end with Fenderson so he can also tell you who he is, what he's got coming out, and all that good stuff. Djeli.
Yes. Well, what's happening is that for this entire last week, I have been doing a new job. That's right. I have become gainfully employed. And that's something right there. And it's another reason why Travis is kind of, well, I'd say kind of the entire MVP of me moving to Bozeman, because one of the people he got to agree to lift a piano up 2 flights of stairs recommended that I apply for a job, and then I got it.
Awesome, Josiah.
Yeah.
Sweet.
He did it.
Damn.
Good guy.
Nice. It's
Real
coming
good
up
guy.
all Jeremy over here.
Yeah.
All Jeremy all day, baby. That's what we're doing. Hey.
I love it.
All right, that's what Jeremy's doing. Just fucking winning. Just winning every day. And Travis is helping him out. Travis, what are you doing for yourself?
Okay, Travis helped one time.
I did. I helped
You just
one
gave him
time.
the MVP. Are you walking that back right now?
He's walking.
No, I'm not walking it back. He did one thing.
I did one.
And that
thing.
one thing made other things happen.
It's true.
But he still only did the one thing.
That's true.
Fair enough.
And speaking of only doing the one thing, I'm not going to give a personal update of what's been going on, but what's about to happen. I agreed to do something that I know I'm going to love in the moment, but like leading up to it tonight, I'm dreading with my whole being. And that is, my wife has made many friends who are backpackers recently. And one of their rites of passage trips is a sunrise hike up Sacagawea Peak here in Bozeman, which means we're going to go there at 10 p.m. tonight and camp out and just pass out in a tent in October. So it's going to be 40 degrees. And then we're going to wake up at 5 in the morning and walk up a mountain. And I know when I get up there, I'm going to look out over the Gallatin Valley and I'm going to be like, yeah, this was worth it. But after a whole week of teaching, I'm like, I don't want to climb a damn mountain at 5 in the morning. So I'm both dreading and excited for that journey.
Gotta love that. Type 2 fun. Fenderson, I saw you giving a knowing nod there. Do you have experience with this phenomena as well?
I'm not doing none of that. I'm not doing any of that. I was like, oh, look at you. Good for you. Hey, good job there, Travis. But no,
Thank you. I'm
But
dreading
as soon as he was like, a lot of her friends are backpackers, we were all like, we know how this story
I know
ends.
what's coming.
Force be with you, my friend.
May the
Thank you.
force be with you, Travis. May it indeed.
Godspeed.
Colin, has the force been with you lately, buddy, or what's going on?
Where your force levels at?
Yeah,
Where
what's your midichlorian count?
Your
right now?
midichlorian count. What's your midichlorian?
Yeah,
Oh,
off the
midichlorian.
charts. Over 5,000, obviously.
Mhm.
I have some friends, and they went on a backpacking trip with their 2-year-old, and it was going to be a multi-night trip. They did one night, and they said it was really good. And my wife and I looked at one another with our newborn, and we were like, "We're never going to do that. We're not going to take this little kid, even if he's 2 years old, on a backpack. Like, that's going to be many more years past 2, for sure.
Nice.
So if you have that power, shout out to Nick and Beth. Awesome for you. Not for me and my wife. You know, sometimes it's very important in life to be like, pump the brakes. That's not for us.
Yeah.
Some people like doing that. I think it's a bad idea. Big event in my life. I had my graduation officially last weekend, and a bunch of people couldn't make it because they already had jobs. And for some reason, they scheduled the graduation 3 months after you graduate. So, or finish our last class and get all of what we need to get jobs. So a lot of people couldn't make it, but the people who did were awesome. And I got to sport my sweet official Rad to the Bone t-shirt.
Fire.
Nice. Love that.
Because I have a my associate's degree was in radiology, aka the people who x-ray people.
Nice. I mean, I don't know how comfortable I am with you getting that kind of power, but you have it now. So congratulations to you. And I'm sure you'll do a great job looking inside of some folks out there. Yeah, congratulations, man, though. That's awesome.
It is very important. You know, my wife was like, I'm going to write this quote of yours down because, you know, I've taken a break from it for a while to take care of our newborn son. And at one point I was like, I just can't wait to irradiate people again.
Yeah, I haven't done that since I played like Fallout 3 a few years ago. It's that was the most recent occurrence for me. My personal update, I have exciting news as well. So I wrote my first feature film this year, and the film company that I wrote it with is bringing me on to work on another script. So that's really exciting because that's like an ongoing several months gig. And for this one, I'm going to get to be in the writer's room the whole time. And I'm also going to do some work with the production company in like a entry level producing role. So this may turn into like an ongoing thing. It's
Nice.
looking promising, but regardless, when you're in the creative fields and you get like Fenders, and you know this, you get a gig that's like, oh, you want me to work for you for longer than like 2 days? That sounds amazing. So I'm really excited. This is ongoing work, well-paid work, and that's always exciting. And I get to, you know, continue to do what I love. So yeah, cool news. It was a good meeting this morning. Just kind of got that whole thing situated. So that was exciting for me. And the other thing I'm most excited about this week is to have you back, Fenderson, because you are an awesome guest. I love your work. I'm a big fan of yours. I still tell everybody that your story in Out There Screaming is like one of my favorite horror short stories ever. I don't know how or why, but you just like hit all my sweet spots with that story. So excellent work, man. Please tell the listeners who you are from your perspective, what you're working on right now, what you got out, and yeah, why you're here.
Yeah, sure. I'm Djeli Clark. You know, I write stuff. I don't know if there's a genre that I specifically write in, but I write mostly fantasy, alt world history, horror. Only thing I haven't written yet is hard science fiction, but I'm coming for you guys sooner or later, right? What's going on now? I'm also an academic professor of history, and so I'm on sabbatical this semester. So yay, which means no teaching. Supposed to be doing a lot of researching. Yeah, that's coming along. Doing some edited volume type stuff, trying to put that together. Doing an edited volume is the equivalent of herding cats because you're trying to get a bunch of other historians to contribute. So working on that. Trying to finish up a middle grade novel, which will be the third in the trilogy that I'm doing, which will finish that off, and I can get back to more adult writing. And let's see, on Tuesday, Ring Shout, the paperback comes out. And so it's interesting to have that paperback out with a foreword by me. It's the same story, nothing's changed. Just has me with a foreword, and now it's in paper, so you can carry it in your back pocket or however you do it, right? So it's a paperback. It's great to have that coming out, especially with Sinners, because there's a lot of synergy between the two in the public eye. And so I'm kicking off a small mini book tour. And it's actually going to start before it comes out on Tuesday. I'll be in New York with Nat Cassidy, with Chuck Tingle, with Cassandra Caw, and we're going to be at this new I forgot the name of it. It's a new horror bookstore in Brooklyn, so it's going to be interesting.
Is it Twisted Spine?
That's it, Twisted Spine. Yeah, I'll be there, or I'll be at the Brooklyn Brewery where they're holding it. So we're gonna talk horror and stuff, and then after that, I think I'm in, like, over the course of the next week and a half, I'm in Columbus, Ohio, Concord, Massachusetts, Indianapolis, of all places. No, I'm in Bloomington, not Indianapolis, but Bloomington, Indiana. And I'll be in St. Petersburg, Florida. I haven't been in Florida in a while, and a few other places. So that's gonna be that's my life gonna be in the next week and a half. Nothing like jumping into hotel to hotel and eating hotel food. Yay. Love that stuff.
Absolutely. And hotel bars have not gotten better over
No.
the course of time. They've gotten more expensive and like vastly worse in terms of service. At least that's been my experience.
There's no John Draper level Mad Men stuff going on in these hotels.
No.
I tell everyone who will listen to me that, like, one of my favorite things to talk about is these things that I loved as a kid, but now I'm like, this is dreadful and I hate it every single time. And that's riding on planes and staying in hotel rooms. Like, as a kid, I was like, this is the greatest adventure ever. And now I like book the flight and I'm like, oh, great. That's 2 days of my life I'm going to hate. Here we go. You know?
Yeah, that's fair. I still have a soft spot for hotel rooms, mostly because I just stay at them during conventions, and I love conventions. But that said, I don't spend a lot of time in them. If I did, I would hate them as well. I just kind of
that sounds like at most a coping mechanism.
Oh yeah, for sure, for sure. All right. Well, awesome. Thank you for coming back on, Fenderson. We're stoked to have you. Everybody, you should go read P. Djeli Clark's work. But before you do that, you should stick around and listen to us yell at each other about Sinners. If you haven't seen Sinners yet, what the hell are you doing?
Just
get after it. Get after it. But just in case you are one of those people, that's totally fine. No judgment. What Sinners is about, it's about the smokestack twins, two twin brothers who moved back from Chicago, and this is in the Jim Crow era South in Mississippi. They moved back from Chicago after doing some work of sorts, questionably moral work, and they've come back with a big bag of money. They're going to buy an old mill, and they're going to turn it into a juke joint and carve out a spot for their community to live and experience music and have a good time. Of course, this is the Jim Crow era South, so that's not going to be so easy to do for lots of reasons. Not least among them is that there's vampires in this movie as well. Yeah, those damn vampires, they will be doing that. They will be showing up, and it doesn't make anything easier. So that's kind of what the movie's about, all those things colliding in Ryan Coogler fashion. And we're going to debate that shit. But whether we like it or not, that's not really for us to decide. That is for a higher power, a power older than death, older than existence. You could argue a power that creates existence itself, and that is luck in the form of the dice gods.
Oh, there you go.
P. Djeli Clark, do you have a dice?
New intro.
Dice on me? I completely forgot to get my dice.
I can roll for you.
Somebody gave me some polyhedral dice made out of soap.
Oh, nice.
A while back. Give me a second.
All right.
This will officially
roll
be
some soap?
This will be the first time
my lucky Tiamat.
All right.
Tiamat Funko.
That is officially the coolest Funko ever.
And a dice.
Nerd badge of
It
honor.
is, isn't it? When I saw this,
yeah.
I had to absolutely have it because all of my 1980s D&D Saturday morning cartoon store, this is it. This is what I lived for.
Oh, yes.
Tiamat's your boy. I remember Tiamat made an appearance on the last episode, too.
Like Tiamat basically making Venger's life, terrible. Like, I'm the force of evil. I don't care.
I don't care. I'm Tiamat.
Yeah, but you kick so much ass.
All right.
Y'all got
I
your
rolled.
dice? You ready to roll? Oh, you already rolled, Clay. What'd you
I
get?
did roll. I rolled a 12, so right in the
12.
middle.
All right, P Jelly.
Polyhedral dice. I got a regular dice. You're gonna have to roll for me.
Okay.
Okay.
Really good.
I got
I
you.
No
thought I
problem.
got this is the regular dice.
I got
20
6.
sizes on there.
Hopefully, I was rolling good in my D&D game yesterday. So, see if this luck carries on or if I screw you over.
I don't think he even knocked on any wood for you or nothing. He just
I rolled and
jinxed
it was
that shit.
lower, just so you know.
It's a 6.
I rolled higher than a 6.
I'm so sorry. I'm so
Lower
sorry,
than 12.
Fenderson. Or am I not? Maybe you hated sinners and this is exactly what you wanted the whole time because now you're going to have to argue against it and Clayton's going to have to argue for it. I have your 10-minute timer. Are you two ready to debate? Remember, this is 10 minutes for both of you. No one do the filibuster. We want to share time, be cordial yet harsh. Ready? All right. In 3, 2, 1. Clayton, you start us off with the positive position. Go.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm really glad I rolled high on this one because I was terrified I would have to argue against it. But there's a reason this movie is catching so much positive buzz and has created such a movement in the movie community as a whole. It really is Ryan Coogler getting to take everything he learned from making Marvel movies and applying it to something that he wrote himself without any like canon hanging over his head. And it's clearly an emergent, like an intersection of all these topics that have inspired him, that have motivated him, all coming together in beautiful synergy. Because, pun intended, by the way, I stole that from Fenderson Clark earlier in the episode, but it fits even better here, I think, because this movie's a masterclass on synergy. It is a perfect correlation of like fleshing out the world, the characters, and their interactions with each other, all through meaningful action, all through believable, organic dialogue. And Coogler gets away with a lot of like classic movie tropes in this because he builds up such a solid foundation of character, world, and the stakes early in the story right away. And it all culminates in some awesome action scenes that really crank up the tension. When it does turn to horror, which is surprisingly little, it does it excellently. I like how sparing it is because I think he does a really good job of transitioning to it and then utilizing it to its full extent. I have tons of other stuff to say, but I'll let Fenderson chip in here with what he wants to say.
Yeah, I mean that's all interesting, but I think you kind of hit it on the head there. This is supposed to be a horror movie that had very little horror. You could have had this movie be about the Smokestack twins and never had horror, and I would have just been interested in watching their lives and how they went to Chicago and everything else. I don't just think about this movie without the horror element. And is it still a movie? Still a movie. Right? The horror element comes in very late and suddenly we're crashed into it. But much of the film, to me, the more enjoyable parts is just watching them walking around Mississippi. I could have spent the entire film watching them walk around parts of Mississippi, just putting stuff together. And then like, oh, yeah, there's a horror thing. And so it's kind of hard to take this seriously as a horror movie if it's, missing a lot of the horror.
Yeah, I could see that. But to me, I actually like that because I think in a lot of horror movies, they get into the horror too early. Now, that can be effective, but I prefer a slow burn and a build up to it. This wasn't what I would classify as a slow burn because it feels pretty fast paced to me most of the way through, even though not a ton happens technically. Early in the story, the relationships are really interesting. There's an energy to them that makes you still feel like there's narrative movement. At least I feel like there is. Just from how they're interacting, I agree with you. Them walking around is awesome. But when the vampires just suddenly drop in, that first scene in the little cottage is really chilling, and it does a great job of like just adding that extra layer of tension to crank it up to 11. And I think Coogler does that expertly. If we didn't have these vampires, we wouldn't have that unhinged ass Irish dance scene, and that would be tragic because it's fucking amazing.
Like the vampire just drops in. Can we talk about that for a second? We're just going along in the movie, and he just drops in. There's no backstory. There's no anything. If we get a backstory about everyone else, we get nothing about this vampire for the most part. He just kind of arrives. You know, it's just there's nothing. If anybody's ever mixed before and you're trying to get like two turntables together to get two beats, this was just a clash. Just boom. He drops in. We see some Native Americans chasing him. We have nothing on their backstory. Like, at least give me that. You know, at least start off showing me, oh, he was among them. I have no idea what's going on. He just falls into the story, and then suddenly we are kind of taken out of what we were watching all along, and we're in this other story. And so it sometimes seems like Sinners is fighting itself. Like, which movie does it want to be? Does it want to be a vampire movie, or does it want to be this other movie about, you know, two gangsters running around Mississippi? And I think in doing so and trying to be two things, it makes the overall film weaker.
Yeah, I don't know. I do think that I like the clash of the Irish immigration mixed into the rest of the social commentary, especially from the perspective of being vampires. I thought that was a really interesting approach to take, and I loved it. This guy is one of my favorite vampires in any contemporary film. He's just so fucking fun. Like, I love how he just strolls up to people and is like, "Sup, I'm a vampire, and so should you." Like, he's like a Mormon vampire. He just like strolls up and he's like, "Have you taken a second to consider what it'd be like to live forever and just be really, really fucking cool like me?" Watch how awesome we can all dance and sing right now. And I love to. They're like, "Hey, we're musicians. Just check out this banger," and they're just like, "We ate a guy." Just like very blatantly vampires, and you don't usually see that. I feel like you usually see vampires kind of being tricky or seductive. He does a little of that, but he's pretty upfront about, like, "Yeah, I'm here to eat you," and I thought that was really fun. Small new approaches to classic vampire lore that Coogler uses too are really, really fun. And while I can see your point, I think it would be pretty sad if you took the speculative elements out of this movie, because they really are what, to me, raises it to another level. I don't think it's just a cheap chip in to get it put into a genre category that happens to be sexy right now.
You know, I hear what you're saying, but then I think back of movies with vampires in a modern setting. Yeah, long time ago, we had all our vampires set in some castle. They were Dracula-ish, and then came Lost Boys, 1980. Gave us this whole different type of vampire, right? We got a completely different type of vampire, but you knew from the beginning of that film, oh, we're dealing with vampires. Down to the very end. What's that last line? One thing about cinema I couldn't stand, it's all the damn vampires, right? And we knew from the beginning to the end, we're going to be dealing with vampires. We're not, in other words, it's an integrated story, right? I would say the same for, let me see my other 80s movies, Fright Night, things like that. Near Dark. Who remembers their Near Dark, right? One of the most unsung vampire movies. So we've had a lot of movies and we've had a lot of vampire movies in the modern genre. And if you want to see a film that I think manages to do it, what I think Coogler was aiming for, you have to think, of course, of Dusk Till Dawn, right? And Dusk Till Dawn also does the same thing, where it starts off and it becomes a vampire movie. It becomes a vampire movie very early, right? We spend a lot of time of them dealing with these vampires. And it seems like Coogler, who likes to take from other films he's done and pastiches, is trying to do a Dusk Till Dawn type affair, but it never comes off as dramatic as Dusk Till Dawn. It just doesn't give me that same feel, right? Even I mean, think about it. We got the two brothers, we got two more brothers, we got a vampire at a partying spot, we got a vampire spot. It's a very similar thing in the end, right? But I think there's something that Dusk Till Dawn captures that Sinners just doesn't. I was waiting for that.
What do you think it is lacking fundamentally in that regard? Because I don't know. I think it does capture. I think that's an apt comparison. I would say the main difference between it and Dusk Till Dawn is it has a lot more meaningful character development.
I think that one of the things that Dust Till Dawn gave us was a great deal of adventure from the time they have to deal with the vampires. It seemed in Coogler's film, by the time we're dealing with the vampires, yeah, there's a dance and then it's almost done. Right? They invade the place and then it's almost done. In Dust Till Dawn, there's a lot going on by the time they figure out the vampires are there. There's a lot of intricate things happening. It seemed to it just seemed like it started moving at this really swift pace. And before I knew it, I was like, oh, the vampire perked up. Okay. How long did that take? Right? It seemed like we finally got to the vampires and it's all done. Yeah.
I mean, that's a pretty classic Irish Rambler move, to be fair. Like, that is what they do. They just sort of show up, cause a whole bunch of trouble, and bounce out. And that's what he's doing, you know? I mean, I don't have a problem with that. I think it's accurate.
Been a lot of ways to make this movie much more enhanced. I think there was a way this film could have started off with showing us the idea of vampires. And by the way, how much time do we have left?
That's it. I know you got a lot more to say, Fenderson, but I gotta cut you off. That's the 10 minutes.
I don't believe in a single word I just said.
You're the
things that I've actually argued with other people about.
I
think it's all nonsense. It's a friggin' perfect movie as far as I'm concerned.
So excited to field some questions.
But I played that part as best as I could. I was like, I'm running out of stuff here. I'm starting to try to make things up. What don't I like? I love the fact that he falls from the sky. I like the whole fallen angel type. I love that we don't get too much on the Native Americans. Are you kidding me? That's perfect. I love the ideas you said that they give us all this backstory, because one of the greatest things of horror I like is when they integrate horror into a regular everyday story. Right? Yeah. And so like, hey, this is just a regular story, and oh, here comes the horror. And of course, that Irish jig, that's one of the greatest feats of cinema. Between that and The Roof is on Fire, and the roof is literally on fire. And
it's so cool.
Which they wanted to cut, I heard, by the way. Not Coogler, but the Suits.
How could you even?
This is weird. And he was like, absolutely.
You cannot cut the unhinged musical numbers from this film.
The central thing, no. And I mean, by the way, it just is much more, I think it's very indicative of the Suits and the folks who live in the Hollywood world at times have no idea what the pulse of people are.
Yeah.
Right? Which is why we tend to see misses or things that are redone all the time. And Coogler was like, absolutely not. You guys need to go outside and touch grass. You have no idea what you're talking about.
This will make money, I swear. Which we'll get to. But first, I really am so excited to field some questions to you, Fenderson, because I think you did good arguing the against position. But
it was rough. It was rough. Ryan Coogler, I mean none of this. I mean absolutely none of this.
If you're just listening, he has the Black Panther poster behind his shoulder. He's a fan.
Yes, it's back there.
Definitely a fan.
So good.
All right. Before we get to all that, what is everyone drinking? I'll start us off, and then I will pass the buck to others. I figured this was kind of like both. I think both the bottle looks a little like classic South kind of.
Can't quite see it.
And the name is also Widow Jane. So I was like, that seems fitting-ish to this. It's a really good bourbon that is distilled where? Brooklyn, and it uses Rosendale Mines water, which apparently is what makes the pizza in New York taste so good. So it's good. It's good stuff.
That's the first I heard.
I'm having that, and also a PBR because I didn't have an Irish beer. I wanted to bring both, but I didn't have an Irish beer on me.
Did Jeremy, you find an Italian wine at least?
I did. No? I don't drink wine. It kills my heartburn so bad. Jeremy, what are you drinking?
Well, I decided to go with something that they maybe could have had back then. So I reached for one of the few bourbons that was actually sold legally during the time of Prohibition.
Oh, okay.
I went with this Old Forester 1920 Prohibition style bourbon.
Nice.
And so
all right.
great fun.
Colin?
Well, I checked for some moonshine corn liquor and didn't find one, but that's all right. I'm okay with that.
Good
Or
effort.
some Irish whiskey. I have that too. But ultimately, I decided, I think it was Delta Slim who had his first taste of Irish beer.
Yep.
So I have a Sullivan's Brewing Company Maltings Irish Ale.
Oh yeah.
Which was apparently established in 1702. I feel like this is the most Irish thing to say about your beer. Rich ruby color with good foam.
It's all
That's how the
important.
Irish do it.
Absolutely.
You don't need more than that.
You don't need more than that.
No. Clay?
Irish death.
Perfect.
Yep.
See, I could have swore an Irish death was just a sudden and alarming lack of potatoes.
Yeah, well, that's how Irish death is brewed.
Too soon, Jeremy.
Too
Too
soon,
soon.
Jeremy.
Jeez Louise,
Yeah,
pal.
that's way too
Too
soon.
soon.
How dare I?
I mean, that was only like a little while ago, dude.
I know.
Relatively speaking. Fenderson, what do you got tonight?
Drinking none of that. I'm drinking rum punch because I had some West Indian food. So I have a nice mix of Grenadian rum,
Nice.
Clark's Court rum, mixed with punch that will put you on your back
All right.
that my mother-in-law makes.
I love it.
Nice.
Delightful.
Colin, there are so many facts about sinners. Did you distill them down to a couple that the audience might appreciate? Also, anyone who has other facts, please jump in. This movie is chock full of them.
It is. I'll, it took me a lot to not listen to a bunch of music when you start looking at, what they did musically with this film, like all the people who participated. I had to really not listen to all the music while this debate was going on.
Yeah.
So Buddy Guy is an ultra famous blues singer. He is 89. He was in the movie. He plays Sammy as an old man, and that's Buddy Guy, who's an amazing blues singer himself. And his quote for why he even did the film was pretty great. He said that anything that keeps the blues alive is what he told the director, Ryan Coogler. So shout out to Buddy, who's awesome.
Shout out.
I also love the blues and I love Irish folk music. And there's like a ton of things about all the musical selections for the film. The incredible one-shot Sammy music scene in the barn. Apparently they shot it in one day. They rehearsed it for months. And that was, I had something else to say about that. It was basically super hard to capture.
Is it a true one take, Colin? I know I never looked
Yes.
that up if it is. It is. It's a true one take. That's sick.
It's so sick when you
That
realize
is some hard shit.
Just wild.
And there's tons of musical stuff, which is just in keeping with the entire film. There's the cast sang the songs along with blues musicians on the sets. The Coogler didn't even know that his about the Irish jig background for Jack O'Connell, who played Remick. He didn't know about that. It's just like he had that experience as like a funny thing that he did, and then he actually used it.
That's awesome.
They didn't plan for that necessarily before filming.
In the film.
That is
so
one
awesome.
of there's such a I love subtle lines that tell you a lot about a character, and there's one in here for like history buffs, especially of European history. Remick says that the Christians took his father's land, which like lets you know that he's somewhere around like 1300 years old, because it would have been between the 5th and the
Druids,
7th century.
Snakes got chased out of Ireland there. Yep. Yeah.
It's really cool. So it's like, oh man, you know like his age based on this one tiny line that's blink and miss it. I love that.
So Smoke and Stack, the Smokestack Twins, comes from a famous song, Smokestack Lightning by Howlin' Wolf.
Okay.
And rather surprisingly to me anyway, Coogler was also influenced by Metallica. So Metallica has a song One, and he said it starts off with almost an easy listening solo, you know what I'm saying? And then it just goes batshit insane. and he wanted the same thing in a movie. And in fact, Lars Ulrich hopped on the drums for the score.
Nice.
So there's a lot. I mean, that's just, you know, it's just a bunch of awesome music all over the place, all over this film in the background. I also definitely didn't know that the twins were played by the same guy. How about that? Michael Jordan.
Oh yeah.
You
Michael
forget
B.
that one
Jordan.
watching it. He does such a fantastic job. Did you see the
Also,
getup
like-
that they have on
Oh.
him, the special gear that they created just for that? It's insane.
It's crazy, man.
Yeah, so they did.
You know how
they did
hard
split
it is
scene.
for somebody
You
to
know it's a good
hand
actor when
something
you like, yeah.
to themselves, just visual effects
Do
wise.
you remember growing up with the weird when you'd have to watch Kirk like look at himself in the mirror and that was about it? I mean, what have we done to that? And the fact that he can make you believe these are two completely different characters. When it's like, no, it's just one guy. It's one guy doing this. It's amazing.
I had no clue.
Yeah, the Parent Trap walked so that this film could run at you menacingly with its teeth bared.
I love that.
Okay.
Parent Trap. That's right.
There's been
Thank
some
you.
good deep takes. Fenderson, during your debate, I was just like cheering in my head of like friggin' Fright Night. What was it? What's the Catherine Bigelow one that you dropped? That
Lost Boys.
Lost Boys.
What was the one with the vampires like in it was actually I like that one. The one where they were in Alaska. It's a more recent
30 Days of Night.
years ago. So 30 Days of Night. Like man, those unsung vampire movies. Yeah, those are some of my favorites.
Yep.
And of
I
course,
love
you know,
30 Days.
Bram Stoker's Dracula with Gary Oldman is the greatest vampire. Gotta watch him fight the Turks.
There it is. There it is, Clay.
It's something.
That is a ludicrous thing to say.
Absolutely wild.
Clay loves that movie. Watches it every year.
Every year.
The intro of that film, there's like two films I say have the best introductions. The intro of that film with him fighting the Turks and stabbing the heart, the blood, and of course Anthony Hopkins is playing the old monk in there, and he's like, her soul is damned. I was like, hey, my dude, a little tact, you could have saved a whole lot of lives, and save this dude before he overreacted, like real overreaction there, stabbing the cross, and come on. Between that, Lord of the Rings, the Fellowship, that opening scene, there are like few films just have that kind of epic opening scene that I've come to love. So I still, by the way, show that to my students when I want to talk about the fall of Constantinople. And so I do the cross falling, Constantinople is falling, Muslim Turks moving to Europe for the fast period forward. And my students are like, because they're all children, they're like, what is this? Oh, I think my grandparents watched this one. They remind you how old you are.
If I didn't teach sixth graders, I would do the same, but I don't think they're ready. I don't think they're quite ready for.
But you do understand. You do understand. They're like, so,
I don't think the
like,
world
I
is
knew
ready
I was
for that
old
one.
when they were like, oh yeah, my parents liked Hamilton.
Yeah.
Like, okay.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh, that hurts.
That one hurts. That one hurts. Colin, you got any more facts for us, or anyone else want to hop in with fun facts?
I got two more.
Okay.
One is really cool. The Remick flees Choctaw hunters, and that could have actually happened historically. And actually, the Irish potato famine occurred 16 years after the Choctaw, Cherokee, and other Native Americans walked the Trail of Tears. And there's actually a sculpture called Kindred Spirits that was erected in friendship between, Irish people and Native Americans. And a companion sculpture, Eternal Heart, installed on Choctaw land in 2024. So that is realistic, which I had no idea. And lastly, really cool thing. Apparently, Ryan Coogler experienced $200,000 in film school debt at one point in his life while making his movie Creed specifically. And he, because of probably his Marvel fame with Black Panther, he managed to negotiate an interesting contract, which is that he would get final cut of the film, instant percentage of the film's box office revenue, and full ownership after 25 years, which means after 2050,
Damn.
he should own all merchandising, streaming royalties, and television airings of this and future
Well,
movies. based on
deal. Yeah. It actually frightened other studios because they were like, what the hell is this? So
Hold on
here's,
to
here's
those,
one of-
that director's
Yeah.
cut. Re-release that fucker.
Yeah,
about the
right.
film, and we talked about it, like that dance. What I loved about the dance, the Irish dance, is it reminded me in the time of history I study is that there is this moment in which like Black and Irish people are living in the United States together at one point in the antebellum era, and they're sharing a lot of culture and music. So like tap dancing, which becomes an African American norm, actually comes from Irish dance, right? That they take, but they also add these African syncopated rhythms, and there's this movement back and forth that people actually take with them, even sometimes back to Ireland. So there's this movement of culture where it's hard to disentangle because aboard ships and aboard things that Irish and African Americans are kind of living, intermingling. I mean, as early as, indentured servants and enslaved people, they've been doing this for a long time. Now, of course, we know that's not going to last for obvious reasons. Racism actually separates those groups dramatically. But there is this interesting moment. And so there was something there with the clapping that you have, this Irish jig, but these mostly Black vampires all clapping along. And there's this way, and almost like, oh, these two forms of music are kind of meeting again, right? Mm-hmm. They're kind of coming together. And people have actually talked about these and the certain rhythms that are different, and yet they find the way that they blend. I thought that was an interesting bit to throw in there. Because people ask, like, why the Irish vampire? And I thought there was a purposeful reason that Coogler chose this figure for this role, mm-hmm. right? This figure who is like, I'm outraged. I'm not a Klan member. I'm a blood-sucking vampire. I'm not a Klan member.
Don't call me a Klan member, though.
I'm not a Klan member. I'm just going to drink your blood.
Yeah, and so I thought that was all of that was very intentional. A bunch of showing the Delta Chinese and these other things to get at these aspects of American history. I think that sometimes get lost in people's presentism or just not knowing. And so I thought that was great that he managed to bring all of these things in here that I think, as Colin, you point out, people want to know. A great film to me is one that sends people looking things up. Yeah. Right? So, and I was like, I want to know more. Like, I think about like when they remade Watchmen on HBO, and it was the first time a lot of people heard the Tulsa race riots. I think they almost broke Google that night because everybody wanted to know what the hell was this, right? I mean, literally Google like stuttered like, hey, it's too many. And I think that when a film can do that, I think it's amazing, especially since it's a film about vampires. When people want to know this backstory, they were like, they were Chinese in the Delta. Tell me more. Let me find out more of this and so forth. What is root magic? What is that? What are conjuring? And I thought that was pretty good.
Yeah. And it worked. I mean, we've been kind of talking about whether or not things were successful. And we have only had a few flops that we've talked about so far, or like sleeper hits that came with their success later. This was not one of those. This had a $90 million budget, which honestly, I thought it would have been a little higher. I would have thought it would have been over 100 with the way it looks.
I was shocked when I saw that number.
Yeah.
That's not expensive.
Not nearly as
expensive. I was going to say not expensive. My God, back in the day, this would have been like a ridiculous shit how much Hollywood would cost.
Oh, no.
Been a massive amount of money, but today, it's like, it's not.
Yeah.
But now they're shelling out $500 million for the newest Mission Impossible. So it's like we have a different benchmark, but it made almost $500 million. It made $366 million worldwide. And one really cool fact I looked up box office wise, this might not sound impressive on the face, but it is in the top 100 highest earning rated R films of all time. And that's pretty impressive when you look at the list. Most of them are IPs, like huge, they're carrying names in, like The Matrix Reloaded, Deadpool and Wolverine is #1 currently because it broke.
Isn't Deadpool those are all R-rated?
Yeah, and Passion of the Christ is huge, which that obviously was going to just have a baked-in
It's
audience.
so crazy that's still in there. Like, what the
Very recognizable IP.
Saving
Yeah,
Private Ryan.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm not saying IP, but you know, it has fans just baked in. Troy, but it's among some giants. And I think it's really impressive that it's not only in the top 100, it's in the 58 out of 60. So pretty excited for that. But yeah, it was definitely a smashing success. And that is what we have.
The downer, Travis, after you just said it was a smashing success, the downer, however, is that I don't know if that smashing success is going to translate into more films like that.
Yeah.
And I've spoken to people in Hollywood, in the industry, and right now the industry is in a state of fear. Current political climate, and protect that there will be interference, that they could see the weight of pressure. And so it's interesting that this film was greenlit before our current moment. And what people are waiting to see is if this would have like a Jordan Peele Get Out effect, where you start seeing other films. And that has not yet been seen. Even as the film made so much money, normally you should see all these copycats now, right? Getting greenlit. Actually, we're seeing almost the reverse, right? Where people are afraid to take a chance on a film like this, or even this subject matter. I don't know if any of you do gaming, but it was just revealed that like Ubisoft basically was like had a film where it was a game where it was another Assassin's Creed where it was supposed to be an enslaved man who gains his freedom in the American South, and then as an assassin, he hunts down Klan members. They had pulled that several years ago because they were like, the political climate in the United States says that killing Klan members might tick some people off. So, they pulled the whole subject matter, right? And so we think about what Sinners is able to achieve. I don't know if we're going to see a whole lot more Sinners. That would normally be the Hollywood formula, right? Does very well. Let's get more to the point where we're sick of them. Right. Yeah. That's why we have all those Save the Last Dance type films.
Yeah.
Like one did well and they can't stop making them because they're chasing that money. And we're waiting to see if we see that. And unfortunately, so far, not so. And I think the sad part of that is that is what people want to see. Right. And I think Sinners shows that. And I think if the industry ends up giving us, pablum, ends up giving us like things that are less, I don't think people are going to see those things. And I basically see an era of, if what I'm hearing is true, kind of like mediocre milquetoast things that are coming out. There's just going to be a problem. And if you want to see an example of that, if you saw like that last Captain America movie with the Red Hulk, that movie was literally watered down because of fears of political pressure. And so what that film might look like, I don't know. We got something else. And I speak here, by the way, from personal experience as a person who has been told very recently that the chance of people seeing, I'm going to say this on your show, I've said to people, I said, the chance of a ring shot movie are probably nil. Fears that political pressure could be brought upon anyone who does a topic like that. But, I think just unfortunately this is a moment where a film that does so well that should be trailblazing may not, at least for the moment, right? At least for the moment.
Yeah, I think it brings up a really interesting conversation that I'd like to ask you some questions about. Because you, as a person who's a creative right now, who's seems to be like in the know with a lot of the film industry and stuff, because I've been watching the box office this year and it has been a wild, weird ride of Sinners, like seemed to prove, like you say, seemed to show to studios like, hey, a independent creative movie that comes from someone who's given full creative control can kill it at the box office. And it doesn't just have to be IP address after IP address. which, I mean, Sinners is sitting, if you look at the top grossing movies of 2025, it's sitting up there with like only IPs, like literally everything. Minecraft, Lilo and Stitch, Superman, Jurassic World Rebirth, Sinners, The Fantastic Four, How to Train Your Dragon, Captain America, Mission Impossible, and Thunderbolts. So like 6 of those are Marvel movies. Sinners is alone right now in that. And
by the way, those movies cost to make.
yeah, the amount that those cost.
Right.
Yeah.
6 of those are Marvel movies? What?
Yeah. Maybe I miscounted, but I think I counted right. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 of them are Marvel movies out of the 10. So still,
like
crazy.
you said, they're IPs. People are showing up. Yeah, you're gonna. Whereas people, you have to, like Sinners. The first week, it had to be word of mouth and social media buzz that got a lot of people back to the theater over and over again. Right? People were like, "What's this thing?" Yeah.
And I feel like
Coogler had that Marvel audience. Like,
yeah,
the Black Panther is one of the Marvel movies that stands out amongst the rest of them.
Coogler, yes, you're right. Coogler did have people coming in because his name is Coogler. That and Creed, right? But it's still, it doesn't have the big flashy Marvel. You're still, it's never going to bring in what the worst Marvel movie is going to have people come into the theater and sit and watch it because it's Marvel. Yeah.
Or it's going to have people that literally just go to hate watch. Like that's a weird phenomenon that Marvel has.
Yeah.
So I guess like the thing that I was really weirded out by is I think last weekend studios took a risk, and it is kind of a dump month right now. So until or September was, but we had the Smashing Machine, the Benny Safdie film. And that came out at the same time or one weekend after one battle and after another, Paul Thomas Anderson's.
Yeah.
And everyone thought that this was like their moment. Everyone I was talking to, I don't know if you have a different perspective, thought that it was like the indie movie moment, and they bombed big time. And I thought about it, and I haven't gone, so I kind of feel guilty for this, but I made it to Sinners like opening weekend. I was ready. It's because of the word of mouth of like the early press on it. Whereas Paul Thomas Anderson's, I was very excited, but something about like the 2-hour and 45-minute runtime, and I was just like, I don't know, something didn't draw me the same that Sinners did. And yeah, I don't know if you've seen.
Hey, I wanted to see it, yeah, but I couldn't. It was just that I think Sinners worked because of the time it came out. I think there's something about that timing. And I want to say it's interestingly, those movies that came out kind of like post-election 2016. I also saw them like Get Out, Arrival, where people just needed something different. And they kind of went to the theaters. And I thought there was something about Sinners hitting at a perfect time when people needed like a release. I also think there was something about it, and I use this words often. I call like there's this way that if certain movies get this stamp of, sometimes I call it black cool, right? Like massive amounts of black people go see it. They come back on social media and they talk about it. It gets everybody else in the theater. They're like, oh, let's go see this thing that has this like stamp of cool, right? And I think that Sinners is able to ride this. And I thought like some of these other films I've heard, like I basically barely heard of One Battle After, but everybody told me, oh, you got to go see this. But when I say everybody, it's like a few people I know. There's nothing close to the way social media was just a buzz with Sinners, right? Where it was just starting this whole thing. And I do think part of it being in places like Blue Sky, or if you're still on Twitter or Instagram, I think the reels that it managed to create, I saw a lot of Black creatives who really dominate a lot of those spaces in, pushing the culture. I think it was a lot of voices like that. And I think a film like, I think the films you're saying are going to bomb, but they're probably going to be like the big award gets, as far as people are concerned. Yeah. But I don't think they have, I think there's a way that they don't have the way to pull in a mass audience. And that's a shame because as you well know, Travis, this means that people are not going to take risks on those kinds of, or at least there'll be trepidation to take risk on those things going forward. Yeah. But I'm
Yeah, and
interested
then
to
if you
see
have
how much people are going to, and I think there's people who are just going to see IPs now. I'm interested to see how the film industry is doing at this point. Period. I haven't looked at the numbers. If people are still showing up to theaters in the same way,
it's not back even close to its former glory, but it has recovered. So like it dipped down to I think around 3 to 4 million or billion in the COVID time. Real bad hit. It's come back up to like the 8s to 10s pretty frequently, but it's not nearly to where it was in like 2009. I think was the last time it was like the healthiest it's ever been. So it's weird. It's been a weird journey to watch, but
I think something we can keep in mind is that all of these films were greenlit a while back.
yeah.
we haven't really because it takes a while to greenlight a movie and then get it made. We haven't really seen what the chilling effect on what people think they can do has done. We're not going to see that for like another year or two out. And we'll see what kind of movies they are. Okay, this is the movie we're going to make, and this is how we're going to tinker with it or do what have you, because, you know, we're afraid some Jimmy Kimmel type situation might take place. We haven't even seen that yet. So
on the positive side, and I do want to give, I'm sorry, I'm hogging the mic here for the other hosts, but I'm very excited about this topic. Ryan Coogler, I think on the positive side is like he's basically a freshman. This is what is 1, 2, 3, 4.
a lot to do.
Lot to do. And when you think about when I'm talking about him and I'm talking about PTA in the same sentences, like Paul Thomas Anderson, to see his early movies, you could see the same thing you talked about in your debate playing the devil's advocate of like he definitely does copy from the people that he really, really adores their filmmaking styles. And you saw that with Paul Thomas Anderson's early stuff. And then you start to see him like walk in his own stride. And that's when we get like There Will Be Blood, which is Paul Thomas Anderson and no one else. And I can't wait because I think Coogler's getting there with Sinners. Yeah, I think Coogler's getting there with Sinners, but like I still saw a lot of influence from his heroes. And I'm like really, really excited to see Coogler just be Coogler. You know?
That's going to be wild. Yeah.
But I don't know. Clayton, what did you think, or what does other people have? That's a lot there.
No, I like what you're saying about that last part. Also leads into what I would have said if I had to argue against this film. But like, I do feel like Coogler was still doing a Marvel movie here in a lot of ways, structurally, mostly. But like, the things I would have said against this film would be all related to the ending. And I think that's what you're talking about, which is like, I'm not talking the very ending where he kills all the clan members and gets to live in the afterlife with his wife and baby. That's great. I'm talking about the ending battle at the club. Like, I didn't like that whole thing. And I love everything on either side of it. So I was bummed out about that part. And that to me felt like a Marvel movie still. Like it was structured like one. Literally, he like cuts to all these different conversations of all the characters, just making sure we're real clear on what's at stake as we go into this final battle. You know, you've got Slim being like, oh, they'll have to go through me. And it's like, cool, that's coming. And then you got like Smoke and his wife, like, hey, if I die, make sure I don't become a vampire. And then he's like, I won't, baby. And then it's like, yeah, well, okay. Like, I already knew all this stuff. I already knew all of it. I wish he would have just trusted that he built such a beautiful castle without like having to give me a virtual tour of it one more time before he let me like come inside for real. I don't understand that whole sequence, and it felt very Marvel movie to me. Like, to me as an audience member, it feels like a lack of trust. Like, because I do think he told me all that like very, very well. I knew what was at stake. I was very invested in the characters, and that just felt like kind of a reminder. And it honestly like slowed the pacing down for me massively. Like I was ready to just get to the vampires already. And basically from the time that starts to the end of the brother battle, that's this whole section of this movie that I just don't like a whole lot. I like using the vampire lore. That was really fun. Like, you can't come in. One of my favorite like comedic relief scenes in the movie. I don't know if it's supposed to be comedic relief, but I thought it was hilarious. When Bo walks up and he's like, "I got the car started. Come on out." And she's just like, there's literally a guy getting murdered right next to him, and she's like, "Do you not?"
Yeah, yeah.
And he's just like, "Oh, come on, baby. Like, let's get going home. Let's go home to our daughter here." And it's like, yeah, that, you know, there was cool moments in that time frame of the movie, but like overall, it was the part of the movie I thought was weakest and that I didn't like. But the rest of the movie, I absolutely meant everything I said. I loved it. So I do think that ties into what you're saying, Travis, though. Like, he's still figuring out his style and his swag, and it was definitely in there. Like, those musical scenes were phenomenal. Just absolutely immersive. And then I love the cuts to horror, which always happen after a powerful music scene, which is like consistent with the in-world lore, and that was fucking sick. Like, you have a cool music scene and then you hard cut to like vampire stuff. And that was just really, really fun too. This movie had fantastic narrative movement, and I think that's like Coogler's strength. He's good at crafting like believable dialogue and organic feeling situations, but with like movie level stakes, if that makes sense. I think that's like his jam. But there are points where I think he was trying a little too hard to crank it to 11 when it was already like there. So he just like broke the dial. Jeremy?
You know, I'm not always on board with Clay and his hatred of fun, especially in the case of mindless, actiony fun. But I feel like in this specific circumstance, he is actually right. I mean, the action sequences and stuff, they were fine. They were good. You know, lots of shooting, lots of stabbing, great. You know, Smoke stabs his wife. You know, hey, Clay, hey, they were fine.
They were not good.
They were fine. But so much of the lore tied like the vampires and the people to this sort of musical mysticism that I wish that was something that was used to solve the problem instead of shooting, stabbing, and then, oh, thank God, the sun's coming up. Which, you know, great. That is a classic trope of vampire fiction.
And it looked great.
It did look great.
Everything looked great.
And, you know, at one point, someone said that vampires can't feel the warmth of the sun. Clearly, they have the opposite problem. They feel it. They feel it a lot harder than the rest of us. Okay?
Only wristwatches had been invented by this. Good wristwatches. They're like, hey, let's get an alarm going.
Oh, shit.
Sun's coming up.
Apple Watch for vampires. It's just like, hey, you better get indoors, buddy.
My favorite vampire movie. I forgot to mention it. Two things I think we're not going to have time to mention it here. The controversy over Grace's decision.
Sure.
There was a lot of controversy over that.
Yeah.
And second, how could I forget my other favorite film in this genre, Midnight Mass? You've never seen.
Yeah.
Midnight Mass, one of my, if you talk about, I mean, he had the time to really draw it out, but you talk about a good movie in this genre.
Yeah, Midnight Mass is slept on. We should talk about that on the show.
I'll be back on I'm not going to debate it.
I don't want to. We'll just bring it on.
We should just talk about what.
He'll watch two of us debate it.
It took me a while to see it when it was a big buzz right around the end of COVID on Netflix. And somehow everyone on Twitter managed not to tell me that it was a vamp film. I don't know how they managed to do that. But when we saw it, we were like, oh, there's vamp. What? We just were like, this is amazing. But I thought that was really well done by people, that you can still watch the film and not know that going in. Everybody was like, we're just going to keep quiet. It was such a good film. Really good film.
It was. And it played so well with the religious overtones too in Midnight Mass. I think that just responding a little bit to what Jeremy said too, I like the action. You guys know I have a spectrum of like, I need realism and suspension of disbelief to be in balance, consistent with the established world in the film. I just feel like this movie pushes it too far in the final battle scene because they have one soldier, okay? They have one person who, in my knowledge of the film, which the characters are pretty built up, one person who's ever fired a fucking gun. The only other two people.
I bet Delta Slim has. Delta
okay.
Slim.
Yeah,
Delta Slim.
But Delta Slim didn't even use a gun.
I'm certain Delta Slim has done some dirt in his life.
He's done.
Delta Slim has done hella dirt.
He's the Doc Holliday of this crew, right? He's like, I'm done a lot.
Oh yeah. Okay, look, I'm not throwing shade at Delta Slim, but I'm throwing it at everybody else because, like, there was like 30 vampires, bro. And you're going to tell me that, like, those 4 vampires turned 30 people to vampires. And then there's like 10 left and they're like, can't do it. They're just too tough, coach. Like, no, fuck that. It's so dumb. Like, that. I hated that part, man. And also, like, again, one soldier. Everybody's shooting guns. And, like, how come bullets now work great? You've got Sammy. You've got 2 people, Sammy and Mary, just unloading Winchesters like they already fought a full tour in like the Slavers' Revolt, right? And like they're just unloading these things like ace shots, and then you get to the end with the clan, and none of the clan members know how to shoot. Like they're just sufficient. They're like only staffed by stormtroopers. Like I'm not saying they would be better soldiers than a trained World War veteran like Smoke. Like I like that he won. I hate that like nobody hit him. He got hit one time. It's like, come on, these guys are all like rock hard to use these guns. Like they've been shooting these guns. They're rock hard about their guns. Okay. Like, you can't tell me these motherfuckers have never shot.
Superior manpower there. He did
What's
have
that?
superior firepower. He did have a bit of superior firepower.
He did.
Yeah, but there was 30 of them.
He had
They
their
cover.
rifle.
There was like so many of them. Like
He had the high ground. I'm just doing stuff now. He had
I think
the
he
high
had
ground.
the same ground. I think he had the low ground. They were in pickups and stuff. Like,
That's how good he is, dude.
this is like if Anakin jumped up that cliff and there was like 10 Jedi up there, and just for that moment in time, they forgot how to fight. And he just cut all their heads off.
Jeremy?
With
So-
machine gun. Very important to add.
I think
with
you're
He had
Basically-
superior firepower.
2
no
machine
question.
guns, actually.
And superior training. I'm not contesting.
Yeah,
that.
look.
I just think he
Look,
should have
hey,
got hit
you
like
know?
5 times instead of once.
Look, here's the thing. Being excited to use weapons doesn't make you good at them, okay?
No.
All
True,
we
but it does
know-
make you practice with them.
I mean, maybe. But anyway, look, here's the real point, you know? You can't fault this film for not having the climax from K-pop Demon Hunters, okay?
You have brought that up every
He
episode
had to add
since
it.
you watched it.
That's not nearly topical enough to like utilize it in this fashion. That doesn't mean anything to a lot of people.
Hey, we have all, well, I mean all, I guess you and me, been
Henderson,
talking
have
about
you
how they
seen
should
K-pop?
have solved the problem
Haven't
through the
finished.
power of magic
I
and
haven't finished.
music.
Benderson
If
has
that's
been-
not relevant to K-pop
Wanted
Demon
to watch
Hunters,
it.
I don't
My
know what
daughters
is.
wanted to watch it, but there's 7, and it turned out to start to scare them. So then we had to stop it. And I said, I'll
I
have to go
did.
back and
I did watch
Daniel
it.
has to go watch it.
Full disclosure.
Well, what's that? You did watch it? Yeah.
I did
And
watch
so
it this week, yeah. And
I
my
need
wife
to
doesn't
watch
like
the whole
anime,
thing, yeah.
and she
Yeah.
watched the whole thing. She's like, "What is this garbage?" And then she watched the whole thing with me.
Watch it. She'll like
Yes.
watch Arcane and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
she likes it. Yeah.
All
Get in
right.
the
It's
comments
a
if
charming,
you want
it's a
us to
charming
compare that.
movie. I just think it's a arguably, not the most relatable reference. It's big though. It's big. Jeremy, what were you trying to say before I felt it necessary to blow up your spot?
Well, look, here's what I'm gonna say now, because this is where we're at now. I feel like it's a perfectly one-to-one reference and comparison to make.
Okay.
You've got 2 different movies about using magic and music to like beat up creatures of the night. You know, I think it's comparable. Okay.
Oh, I'm not contesting that. I'm contesting that usually when you use a reference and you're like, here's the point I'm trying to make. Here's a reference to help you understand. You don't choose a
I haven't
less
made a point.
popular thing to be your reference point.
All right.
I don't know. I
don't
watched
agree at
K-pop
all.
Demon
I think
Hunters
they're
when it was
complete
new. I
opposites.
watched this
I think
movie
it's the biggest reach in
yesterday.
history.
I'll
It's
reach
just off the rails.
I have a question
Off
to
the
put
rails.
it maybe back on the rails because I've been dying to make this reference ever since I saw Fenderson. You were on the Sinners episode because it's gonna be a kind of a long setup to the question, but I have to say it. Okay, so I've recently had your voice popping in my head often, and here's why. When you were on the first episode, you said probably one of the most iconic guest quotes we've ever had, which is, I like my, what is it? I'm losing the name of them too now. Play, help me out.
It's the ring wraiths from Wheel of Time.
Wheel of Time. I like
my mid-draw talking shit.
Yes.
I don't like screechy like the show did, right? To make them sound like Nazgul. I'm trying to copy the Nazgul. These are mid-draw. They're supposed to talk shit, walk to you slow. What is it? The fear of the eyelets. That's it. That's what they do. They don't need to do that screechy stuff. Stop trying to copy friggin' Lord of the Rings. Just do your own thing. Robert Jordan knew what he was doing. He was trying to do Lord of the Rings over again. Yeah. Anyway, don't get me started.
No, I won't.
Started all over again.
I forgot the name of the creatures, which I'm really ashamed of myself. I need to reread that series, but I forgot the name of the creatures. But I always hear I like them talking shit because I've been reading the Iliad, and everyone in that book is talking shit. Just like that ties to Sinners because I think so I just read a passage for my class the other day, where there's something utilized that I think is not utilized enough in film and books that I read, at least enough these days. And it's using physical appearance and costuming to put really, really like thematically put things on the page. And so the scene was the first time Paris and Menelaus face each other on the field. Paris is described as wearing a leopard skin and flaunting himself. And then the next paragraph, Menelaus is just described as being like a lion. And so it's like these two physical descriptions show you exactly what's happening here. Menelaus is actually menacing. He's like a lion. And Paris is wearing the skin of a creature that's supposed to be menacing. So he's really good.
Fierce, but in a different way.
Yeah, he's being fierce in a different way. But I think that's something that I wanted to ask you about, Fenderson, if you saw it the same as I did here. I think that's something Sinners does really, really well, is like the physical appearances of all the characters tell their story as much as their lines, as much as the setting, as much as all of that. And I think that's something I don't see a lot in fiction that I consume. And maybe I'm just not looking for it, but Sinners like nailed that.
Look like Smoke and Stack. Like there's like everything about them where they look similar and yet there's a difference. You can tell. You can see the roughness of one and that smooth, darker tone of the other one. I mean, that's just I mean, even the fact that a drooling vampire. People forget that he is constantly has drool on his face, and he's. I love that. It's like I'm a creature. Like I'm not really like you. I can't even help myself here, right? This is beyond anything I can do. Somebody who's drooling, it means like, oh, you've lost control of your faculties, and I like that notion. It's like I come around, I can't help myself. I'm innate. I want to bite you like a snake wants to bite. There's nothing I can do to help myself. I'm got drool all over my face. Look at me. And I love, I definitely think that I forgot who it was that actually they talk about shooting the film. I forget it's a woman photographer who shot these things. And I think about how between that and the costuming, what that might have been like. And by the way, here's a little fact. I don't know if Colin, did you ever hear the story about where they got the costumes for all this from? The costuming. Oh, I'll fudge it. I can't remember. It was for another film that didn't get made. You look it up or so, and they were like, "Oh, you're not going to use these? Well, can we have them?" And they just dressed a lot of the characters in it, and I think there was something about the costuming, the way it's shot, that was just like, yeah, there's something about that that was amazing. That fit, like everybody fit who they were.
Autumn
Really.
Arkapaw, by the way. Autumn Arkapaw is the DOP that was on the film. Colin?
Yeah, I was gonna add that because you brought it up, like the I thought for sure in the barn face-off scene, the big climax, that there were going to be these vampires coming in through the windows like SWAT teams, you know, because I assume most of them can fly, or some of them, or whatever. So I was like, oh, they're going to be coming in the windows for sure. And then we're going to cut to CGI sequences of these vampires flying through like Blade style as they hack and slash. But that didn't happen. And they're just sort of like rampage forward, like a, you know, blitz on the front lines towards the quarterback. But I think it works. And I think like there's a version of this film where they could have gone Marvel with it and it would just completely defeat what the film was building. Like, I feel like they use CGI as little as possible to huge effect. And like there are parts where Remick flies and it is creepy as fuck. Because it's all in the back of the scene, right? We're walking with like smoke and then he just flies up and it's creepy as fuck, man. And like the glint in their eyes and everything. I feel like this film nailed it. Like so much of this film nailed it during the dance scene, Sammy's scene. Like when I first saw this, like, you know, metal guitarist playing, I was like, this is idiotic. What the hell are we doing? This is so out of place. And then as the scene progressed, I was like, never mind, I'm on board. This is awesome. Because it perfectly captures like the cultural influence of music. And, you know, like my wife didn't watch this film and I was like, you have to watch this scene specifically because this is amazing. So like, you know, there are things I didn't like about the film, but it did so much stuff so well. And like you said, with the, I mean, one thing that was really obvious was Remick's increasingly becoming a monster. Every time we see him throughout the film, he gets more and more demonic. And I loved the fact that it played this whole, you know, like, is this I don't know if this guy is a vampire. Like he's some kind of demonic, you know, something that's occurring and I don't really know. And that's kind of the coolest part of it, is trying to figure out what's going on, which is all, I feel like it's all very in keeping with a blues style. Like virtually every blues song is about making a deal with the devil in some regard, or like living through sin and all that stuff. And like, I think they really captured it well.
Yeah, and I mean, there's not many movies where people, I think I can maybe name two, and I can't even remember the names right now. But that's how this was advertised to me. It was like, oh, you have to watch the scene. And every time I hear that, I'm like, am I going to know what the scene is? And everyone's like, you'll know what the scene is. I was like, okay. So I went to the theaters looking for the scene, and then I saw that scene and was like, oh, that's it. That's the scene. And that is a scene. Hell yeah. Clay?
Yeah, and back to your kind of original question, and I brought it up in my debate, but I do think it's something this movie does extraordinarily well, is fleshing out our characters in like small, organic, believable ways. I love one good example to me, just because there's a lot of them, but the one good one I will bring up is just the way he hires that girl to watch his truck, right? When Smoke does, when he goes in to do some business, and he knows someone's going to steal from him. He's like, yeah, watch my truck. And he teaches her to like barter, right? And then he goes in and he has to barter almost like immediately. As soon as Grace walks in, they're bartering. And to me, that even said like, yeah, like, did Grace teach him this when they were both younger? You know, that's like what it felt like to me, because it felt like he was the student with her still in the room, right? But with he took it upon himself to impart knowledge that helped him in his life to another member of his community, and that like says so much about Smoke, because immediately in that scene, right after that, he comes out and just shoots a couple motherfuckers, like totally ruthless. Like shoots the one in the ass. The other one's already given up the goat, and he shoots him too, right in the knee. By the way, that guy got the short end of the stick, big time. Like shoot me in the ass every time, please.
Yeah, you can
if you're
recover
just trying
from
to
a
teach
butt.
me a lesson,
You
like
can recover from a butt. A knees. That's your life
please
is
don't
done.
shoot me in the
Life is
kneecap.
done.
If you're gonna shoot me,
If you're gonna shoot
to
me,
teach
just
me
go
a
for the ass,
lesson, like,
please.
I would rather you shot me in so many places than the kneecap.
I think that's
Jesus.
our next T-shirt idea. Is if you're gonna shoot me, just shoot me in the ass.
Yeah. Please don't shoot me in the kneecap.
Got plenty of good butt meat.
So much butt
Yeah.
meat. I got shoulder meat. I got rib meat. Like, you know, if you shoot on the outside, obviously. You know, where Smoke conveniently got shot, just east of the organs there. But anyway, I guess it wasn't east enough, because he did die for sure from that shot. But that's one example, and there are many of them. But I think it goes all the way down to appearance. Like we were talking about it too. Like it's amazing the same actor played Smoke and Stack, just absolutely slaying it. And they do feel like such different characters, all the way down to like the makeup and the appearance. Like Stack has a little bit of he has some like gold on his teeth, right? They're red and blue. And that's like not just good and bad. It like comes with everything about them. Like
Order and chaos.
yeah, and Stack is also like more energetic and honestly like positive, right? And Smoke is like pretty negative and like down most of the time. And like he's doing what he views as important. He's like, I feel like a very morally consistent character, but still gray. And there's definitely like a more cynical aspect to him, whereas Stack feels more optimistic. Ironically, because on the moral like spectrum of the story, I feel like it's sort of flipped, right? So it's interesting. But I think they do this on so many levels, and I'm really rambling. Hopefully that's an adequate answer to the question. Jeremy, help me out here, pal.
I'll help you out. I'll say, hey, yeah, I think, we are getting it. I love how, especially, I mean, when we're talking about characters, it comes down to Smoke and Stack, and I love how it's not really, it's alluded to a little bit, but it comes through 100% in the performances that Stack just gets them into trouble, and then Smoke has to get them out of it, and that's their entire relationship from childhood until they run away after having robbed Al Capone, who I forgot to bring up during our fun facts, our fermented facts. That does mean that canonically, Smoke and Stack could have met my grandfather, who, as a child, shoveled Al Capone's driveway for him regularly.
That's
Okay.
crazy. That's a flex.
What a move.
Yeah, so that's things.
Wow. I have no transition.
Transition out of that, pal.
I can't transition.
Go on,
out.
just try
My
it.
grandpa used to shovel Al Capone's sidewalk. But I do have another question. I actually have a two-parter. Because okay, I'm gonna show my hand, and I really want more intelligent people to talk me out of what was my one negative experience of this film, because I love this film. I think it's either good or amazing. There's like anyone who says this movie's bad, I'm like, you're blind. It's beautiful, it's well acted, it's well directed, it's put together incredibly well. But I do think Ryan Coogler got a blank check, and no one told him no on anything. And I think we got some amazing scenes out of that. and some really, really awesome like thematic stuff. But what I feel like I lost, and I'm going to field these two questions to you first, Fenderson, is with the everything in the kitchen sink approach, I don't know how you can keep a story with a consistent moral. And on top of that, I guess that leads to my second question. I have a strong opinion about this, but I'd love to hear different perspectives. Do you think every story needs a moral heart, or do they not? So first question being, what is the moral heart of this movie? Because it got lost to me, and maybe it's just because I'm not the audience, or maybe I don't know. And the second question being, does every story need a moral heart, or can we have something chaotic? And that's the intention. That's like what we're supposed to take away from it. So first to you, Fenderson, and then the panel. You're muted.
Who does that? I don't know. I think this story has a moral heart. I don't think that it's trying to tell a simple moral lesson. I think it's trying to tell multiple lessons about such things as about the different identities in the South, about the backdrop of the South, right? What it's like for all of these different identities to exist in the South, exist in America during this time period. I think it's about issues of appropriation, right? This is what, in the end, this vampire wants to do. Even though he is, of course, there to suck blood, he's really trying to suck the very life. You know, the fact that what he's attracted to is this kind of music, this power that he wants, and he wants to take it for himself, right? Rather than finding a way to share it, he just wants to appropriate it and take it. So it's a great thing about appropriation in there. Of course, it is wrapped up in issues of race at the time. That's why we get to see him kill all the Klan members in the end. It was like almost like, oh yeah, I didn't forget. Like, this is gonna happen, right? I think there are so many different things he's trying to say in here about music and the power of music, the power of storytelling and folklore. There are certainly a lot of things he's saying here about religion, about the religion of Sammy's father versus The Conjuring, which caused a lot of discussion online, right? Because he is bringing in this other element of spirituality that some people didn't like, right? This movie also got called demonic by some people and told not to go see it. There was a huge thing that was happening with that. And it was happening in the large community, but it was especially happening among certain African American discussions, and even not just African American, African diaspora discussions of ideas of religion. And so there was a whole discussion here about traditional African religions as represented in Conjuring and Western religions, and what it says about what he was trying to say and how people's reactions to that was, and what that said about colonialism and history and erasure. I mean, so the story has all these, I found the story had all these multiple lessons that people were taking away from it, right? That it's hard for me to think of it as in a, certainly, that there is, of course, the good guy, bad guy, vampire thing. But as you said, you even have morally gray characters who are involved in this. If people remember, there's a point where, dude almost kills almost kills Sammy. I'm like, are you going to shoot Sammy? Yeah. He's not like, you pointed a gun at him. So once you point the gun, anything's off. Because what if it goes off accidentally? What are you doing? Right? That he is dealing with PTSD from the war, obviously, that I think that's not brought up. That's in the background, but I keep thinking like how World War I was something that nobody had ever seen before. It was like humans didn't know they could kill humans at this rate in this level, and how you're seeing two people dealing with trauma who've come back. There was whole issues of passing in Mary's role, right? Which sparked tons of discussion online about what passing meant and who was passing and what that was exactly. And people were like, well, they were like, another Black actress, Smollett, could have played that role. And it was like, no, she can't pass. She's just fair skinned, and there's a big difference. And I just thought that, again, I love a movie that causes all of these discussions to be happening simultaneously. It just felt like the movie just gave you all this food to eat, and it was up to you to fit in and figure out what you want to take from it morally. But I think it was just trying to tell an interesting, chaotic story, right? Where at the end, some of the vampires make it. Like, what do they have the same yearnings as their maker? Right? They seem to have like settled down some, but at the end of the day, they eat people, right? And they're just walking around, just eating people, right? In their Cosby sweaters. So I mean, anything, So it was. I think there was just a lot there. But yeah, I don't know. There's one simple moral lesson to take from that. And I think that's why people like it. I think it doesn't have a didactic, simple moral lesson, even if it talks about. I think it's just complicated. The characters are complicated, right? The characters, they may be going up and fighting the Klan, but they're also two killers who probably brutalize people in their own communities when need be, right? I said so. I like that they were complicated, the heroes that we have, right? They were bad boys. Pretty much, pretty simple as that. There's nothing about them that was like, these are the heart of gold guys, right? There's no saying where they were going in the afterlife, period. But I like that the show, I like that it entertained all of that. It just gave us a lot. And that's what I really liked about it.
Yeah. Clay, I have a lot off of that, but I'll go fourth.
No, I think that's a really good point. I mean, yeah, I do think if you're looking for something specific, which I think people have a tendency to do, is to latch onto an idea that they relate to. I think that can make it hard to enjoy a smorgasbord, which I love the way you laid that out, Fenderson. I hadn't thought of it in those expansive of terms, but you're right. I mean, there's so many myriad of things, endless myriad of things you could take from this movie. Depending on what you personally relate to most, right? Whether that be on the musical, the historical front, or even just like, I don't know, I kind of always view things from a writing perspective. So I'm like thrilled by the awesome characters and the good dialogue on like a weird semantic level almost. I don't know if anyone else experiences that. But I do think if you're looking for a moral heart or like a central conflict to be resolved, I think that stuff is in the characters, but the themes are a little more sort of broadly laid out. I didn't feel like any theme was not any. There's definitely like fully explored themes in this story, but a lot of those peripheral themes are sort of just that, like branches off which you can look into the story, but I don't know that everything is specifically addressed enough that you can get any concrete answer. I don't know if that makes sense.
I think it does.
Like the Christianity aspect is a good example of that to me. I thought it was weird, honestly. The father is one of the least fleshed out characters in the story. He's basically fridged, honestly. Like, he doesn't die, but he's treated the same way as a fridged character, where like his only real purpose, at least that I saw, was to be sort of a problem for Sammy, right? I mean, they talk about him briefly about like, he's not a bad dad. He doesn't hit me and stuff like that. So that was good, like little character stuff that was prominent early in the film, but I just don't feel like we hear about the dad much, honestly, throughout the movie. But yet he's the bookend, right? And he's seen as this like pivotal turning point for Sammy's like narrative arc. And I just didn't feel like he was significant enough. So that's an example of where something might have got lost in the sauce for me. But I could still see it being there and see it as something there's plenty of other symbolism and character action and all kinds of things that you could still discern those messages from. But there were some that got lost in the sauce and some that were really strong.
Colin?
I think it is, there's one moral to the film, and it happens in every relationship, and it's making a deal. And the people who stick to their deals are the ones who are right. And it's so basically like Smoke and Stack make a deal with this KKK fella, and they buy it and they tell him their demands, and then he breaks them and he shoots them all for it, just like he had promised to. And the vampires also abide by that. Like, they make a deal in terms of, can you let them in or not? And if you let them in, they're going to do exactly what, you know, you think they would do as, you know, forces of evil. They're going to devour you. And then with Annie, who she needs the promise that he's going to put a stake in her heart before she turns. And he does that because that's like a promise that he keeps. That's the deal that they make. And so there's a lot. And the final vampires, right? The only thing I didn't like about the movie is the last 15 minutes, there were a couple endings one after another. And I was like, okay, they walk in, they're going to kill him. No, that's not the ending. Okay, they're going to talk to him. And then okay, now we're doing something else.
Yeah.
and that too, like Sammy, like he goes back to the church and, you know, he can't stay in the church. He has to go and live his life and go, you know, seek out the people who are like on his level in terms of like creative music futures. And then he meets, you know, these vampires in secret who kind of made a deal also by sort of getting away and staying away from him all this time. And then they don't kill him at the end. Because that's like meeting him at his level where they've made an agreement to sort of live separately, you know, and embrace their own sort of identities and continuation. So that's what I see. That's what I see in it.
It's a good perspective. Jeremy?
Well, you know, I think I could see Colin's thing. I think that this movie has less of a moral stance on things and more so is just posing the question of like what exactly freedom is when you're given two shitty options of what that can mean for you, whether that's hive mind or just, I don't know, surviving monsters to still be like in Jim Crow, Mississippi. And you know, and it's this thing. It's like you have to choose something that sucks, and it's part of like and it does bring us back to Sammy and his dad, which sure, Sammy's dad is busy trying to apparently, I think, do Footloose when Sammy goes on his own medicine journey. But he does offer this sort of like interesting stand-in for the idea that you know, no matter how you slice it, the forcing of Christian ideals onto people is like the actual definition of taking the Lord's name in vain and just being antithetical to everything that those sorts of ideals and philosophies are supposed to stand for. I don't know. There's just there's a lot to think about with this one.
I think Fenderson, you framed it well for me, and I think time has also helped me with this movie. I think Coogler was intending to frustrate me and other
you
people.
Specifically?
Not well. Hey, it felt like me specifically, but that's because, you know, that's a good movie. It feels like it speaks directly to you. It's a good movie. I think Coogler, because there's one thing. So I'm coming from like a, you know, Catholic theology standpoint, just as Clayton comes from a writer's standpoint. So I'm coming into this movie with a very specific thing that's always in the back of my mind. I think there's no such thing as an unbiased audience. And people might disagree with me on that, but that's my opinion. And I think I came in with looking for that moral center. And the Christianity thing really, I think Coogler, the more I've been removed from it, the more I'm like, okay, I think he actually expertly did this. Because he'll give you like the dad being described as good. And I'm like, okay, so are you saying that's like a good lifestyle? But then he'll have like the guy we were just mentioning earlier, the blues singer. I'm so bad at remembering names. Delta Slim, who has the really beautiful line to Sammy that like our music isn't like that, the Christian stuff that's come in, it's like from our culture, it's something more that's going to free you. And I'm like, okay, so that seems antithetical to the thing you said earlier, and then you get the speech from Smoke that's like, don't go into this lifestyle, go to your dad's church and do that. And then that flip-flops with like another scene with Stack, and Coogler just keeps doing this balancing act where he's like going back and forth. And I think at the time when I first left the movie, I was like, which one are you trying to tell me? And I think you're right.
All of it.
That Coogler was just like, yes. like I'm trying to get you to think. And I think
that's cool.
To you.
Do it. Henderson, you muted?
Still muted. There it is.
Is that better?
Oh, yeah.
I was gonna say one of the things from this film that you just reminded me of these scenes. I remember Delta Slim, and I think one of the most powerful scenes, one of the ones that gave me chills, was when they saw the chain gang. The amount of things he's trying to put in here, right? It reminded me of like Spike Lee used to do this, but it was like really heavy-handed. Like, I get it, Spike, you're trying to tell me something. And he put these little weird historical pieces, like with just these non sequiturs in the film, and the importance of passing up that chain gang. And when he tells the story about the man who was castrated, it was just to remind you, and the fact that you would see these scenes of cotton fields in the Mississippi, and you understand what all that is and where all these people came from and why they're there, right? And the shit, and the fact that this is a horror movie, but this is in the beginning, and it's kind of this idea. Like before, I was arguing when I had to argue again. So like, oh, it becomes a horror movie later. Actually, it's a horror movie from the very beginning because of where they are living, right? And he tells you a man was castrated, right? And that you see all of this. And so it's long before the vampires show up. This is a horror movie. People are they're trying to live and find lives, but they're living in the midst of everyday terror that could consume them and destroy them at any moment, right? And I thought that was a really powerful part of the film. And the way that was done, by the way, it was done with this almost rhythmic way that Delroy Lindo was probably one of the best actors of all times, who's unsung, where you really believed it. And if you want to see something similar, I think Coogler's pulling from, again, it's as much as he's pulling, I think he's doing like a pastiche. He's almost doing like an homage to these things. Is if you've ever seen an August Wilson play, if you've ever seen like when he has that character do that soliloquy, and they often tell them, they're often beating their chest and they're telling like this deep thing, and they manage to like transport you as you're watching a play, not a film. You are like transported to what they're doing because they do this rhythmic pounding. And by the way, a lot of people, I actually know the niece of August Wilson's niece, and she said, yeah, a lot of people saw August Wilson all throughout this in what he was exploring. And so again, when I talk about the genius of this film, and the idea of it having this moral center, it's like, and it giving you all these things to devour. That's what I love about it. Like, if I go back to all these scenes, I'll forget about them until Travis, something you said triggered it. I was like, oh yeah, like I remember that one scene. Now that gave me shivers, and how again I knew, oh yeah, this is a horror story. It was always a horror story.
Yeah, Jeremy.
But yeah, it's, and that's a great point. It's a lot like, one of my favorite things about like Lovecraft Country, where the tension just can never fully go away, even when there are no monsters anywhere, just because of the setting. And even like with me, I went into this movie not knowing anything about it, totally blind, and then a ways through of like, oh, it's Dracula's, that's nice. But even before then, I was like, oh, thank God, it's Dracula's. Now
we know how to fight Dracula's. This can be done. This can be done.
We can do this. Oh yeah.
I never thought about the August Wilson connection, but I mean, I'm fully going to admit I've only seen his most popular play, so it's not like I'm any August Wilson expert, but Fences is such an amazing work. And I see now, I don't think I'm ever going to be able to watch Smoke without seeing Fences now. Like that weird,
if you
like,
see,
weird like relationship between the guy that actually is a good like mentor and giving decent advice, but then you see him in other situations where it's like, how can this person be guiding you so well that's also terrible sometimes. And that's that father figure in Fences is like such a hard watch, because you're like, you're good sometimes, but then you're not, and I don't know, you know.
Oh, it just hit me, by the way. I know where the wardrobe came from. Here's what's wild. I don't know if anybody had a chance to remember or you remember it. It came from the Never Gonna See It rebooted MCU Blade film.
Oh, they took
What?
the Blade
All of his
costume?
clothing.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, and they basically
Oh,
like,
shit.
let us have it. You know, Ryan, he got that deal. He knows him. It's like,
Oh
you know
my
me,
God.
I'm Ryan Coogler. I'm in the
Oh,
room
man.
over.
It's never
That
happened.
is so sick.
Yeah,
You
they
know, I
just
was
basically took the clothes. Yeah.
I think
yeah,
they
I was
announced.
going to ask if we should consider this a prequel to Blade. Now I'm just gonna.
Oh, wow,
I
wow, that's
think
interesting.
they announced Blade in 2018, and we still haven't seen Blade.
Yeah, it's somehow just never
Wow.
gonna happen.
Never gonna happen.
Never
I don't
gonna.
know how they bought. I mean, maybe they should just leave it alone. It was the great kickoff of the unsung hero of the modern comic book world, comic book film world, and just let it happen.
I think
I say
that's
let it. Wesley Snipes is always it, and that's it. That's the thing.
the best line by far in Deadpool and Wolverine is, "I'm the only Blade. There's only ever gonna be one Blade."
Hey, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I had a question for Fenderson, which, I mean, as a historian, when I watched this film, I was like, man, what else could they do like this? Because I feel like Lovecraft Country was really cool, but to me, it was very much like great episode, bad episode, great episode, bad episode. Like in terms of, I don't know, just the writing and the pacing, and why are we going to this mansion now? It makes no sense and stuff. Like, and so I was wondering, as a historian, is there another time and setting that would be brilliant for what I would love to see is another Sinners film, but that is like virtually unrelated in terms of like another place, another time that has all the same vibes to it. And I feel like there's plenty in even just American history, but I was wondering if one jumps out to you or a couple.
You can put Ring Shout in that universe, and I'd be happy. In fact, I was told at a certain Barnes and Noble that sometime after this film, a certain Mr. Coogler went in and purchased that thing. So I don't know. I don't know if that's true. This is what I was told by someone. They were like, "Yeah, so you should know who bought your book." I was like, "Really?" Got a phone call. They're like, "Oh yeah." so yeah. Anyway,
That's awesome.
Wow.
but yeah, I could. I mean, I think I'd be like, I'm in the universe. Sure, let's be in the universe. So you should know a book that came out. It was a comic called Bitter Root, and it came out right around when Ring Shot came out. And so much people thought, y'all in the same world, because we're also dealing with issues of racism and monsters. But they said theirs like in the Harlem Renaissance. Interesting, you should know. Michael B. Jordan and Ryan Coogler bought the rights to that a long time ago. In fact, when people first saw this commercials for Sinners, the teasers, they thought it was Bitter Root, or some people thought it was Ring Shot. I was like, no, I've not been fortunate enough to do that, right? And so I thought that's interesting that that's there, but I think the Harlem Renaissance would be a little later, but close enough. The sorted places in the South, Atlanta would be a great place. Atlanta, where Ring Shot was first supposed to be set, but Atlanta just has so much history. I just was like, it's not going to make a novella. That's a novel. Atlanta is too central. I think there's so many places throughout in the Carolinas, and Gullah country. I think there's a lot to be done there. I think one in California around this time, right, early 1900s, or get some Walter Mosley in here, Mouse and Company. A little later down the decades, but still, I could see, add vampires, the mouse, the devil in the blue dress, and see what happens. Those kind of things. It'd be interesting. So yeah, I think there's so many places you could set something like this. Right? Yeah, it'd be great. Has a lot of history, a lot of places you could set this.
Chloe.
Yeah, and there are a lot of good examples of that too. Like, I love one of my favorite other historical stories is Stephen Graham Jones' Buffalo Hunter. It's fucking sick. If you like The Only Good Indians, this book is amazing because it's like a Blackfeet vampire, and you get such a in-depth glimpse into Blackfeet lore through like the character and the way he's ostracized from his community. It's cool because you like learn about a community through the like ostracizing process, and it's kind of fascinating. And it's like a community with such an intricate tie to the supernatural on an inherent level, right? And I on that note, give me the Choctaw monster hunters, like riding around the Jim Crow Midwest, just slaying shit. I would watch that all day. Like, I was very fascinated too. I mean, I did say that to Deanna. I was like, man, I wish they would have they should have just burned the cottage down, like commit.
For real though, like those Indians disappeared, and it's like, did they like
Burn the
loot? Did they
cottage
fail? Did they screw up because he got away, or like is there other crazy shit?
Yeah, but I want to see that movie, and that'd be a great connected universe tie-in. I also would love to see Fever Dream, by George Martin, because it's sick, and it's a great historical story as well. With add vampires. That's what he did. He's like, I want to write like the American South version of Moby Dick. I just really want to talk about steamboats, but I can't get like a non-fiction deal. So I'm going to add vampires and call it a day. And it's a fantastic book.
It is. We're going to talk about it on the show. I'm not a historian, but I do teach history very amateurly. And my first thought, Colin, I know your question was Defenderson, but I was screaming in my head of like, all of history is better than most of these IP movies. Just write the stories. Like, they're there.
Just make history an IP.
We don't need to like do much. I keep reading books and I'm like, how is this not a movie? Anyway, and on top of that,
actually, wasn't sorry to interrupt you, but wasn't it the Black Panther sequel, Wakanda Forever, that had the Maya villain?
Yeah, great villain.
It was like this like, I just want to, I've been down there to climb those Maya pyramids and stuff, and it's amazing. And it's like, I just want to learn more about it now. What's this guy? What's his deal? What's the history?
Coogler brought like the breath of fresh air Marvel movie. Like, it was on a downslope and then it hit an up and now it's down again, for me at least personally. But my second thought was, and Clayton I think will agree with me on this, is like Montana in general, but the Copper Kings, like put some supernatural shit with the Copper Kings story. How Butte, Montana was like the richest city in the country at one point because of these greedy, crazy copper tycoons. Like, just put vampires in that or some kind of supernatural element.
Sprinkle some Draculas on there.
Freaking, that would be a hell of a movie or book. I can't write it because I'm not good at that, but yeah, I think that would be a fantastic story. Jeremy, and then Fenderson.
Well, I think when it comes to movies and historical whatever, I think if we're doing the whole Sinners cinematic universe, I think you need one for every era where Black people changed music forever. So, we've got the blues now, so just now you gotta give me jazz and then like gospel and rock and R&B and hip hop, and that's just 5 different movies. That's all I want on my desk by Monday, please and thank you, Ryan.
Yeah, hear that, Ryan?
So right. So actually, one of the things I'm going to say is I'm going to have to go soon because that was my thing. So, yeah, because I have to wake up in the morning to take 7-year-olds to swim classes. But I was going to say the thing that I would love to see. I don't know if anyone ever listens to Old Gods of Appalachia, but the podcast. But if I want to see something come to life, I'd love to see that in the universe.
Yeah.
For
The
sure.
railroad and coal miners is otherworldly, malevolent beings. Yeah, and there's a film as well. I mean, there's a story as well that's set in a place that you wouldn't expect, but is the perfect place, right? Those places in America where you don't think about as much, but which can have great storytelling.
Yeah.
Gola is a great reference too, because it's like so cool that like most people know nothing about, but is totally uniquely American.
Before you go, Fenderson, could you give us your rating of Sinners? Just we're gonna do that later, but
What between one and what?
it's not between one of anything. It's totally arbitrary. It's how many drinks do you need to enjoy this movie to the fullest?
Oh, I just need one drink or just to get a nice buzz. Really, it's already there. I don't need anything, but I think I'll enjoy it more if I watch it. How many times have I seen it? Like about 6.
Nice.
And I'll probably watch it. I'm thinking about watching a bit of it, or at least some of my favorite scenes, right now after talking about this. So yeah, absolutely great movie. I would recommend it to everybody.
Awesome.
Hell yes.
Yeah. I guess we could just rate it and call it a day, right? We can call it a show. We're at
I
2
bet
hours.
we could.
Yeah. What's everybody else say? I would say drink with Slim, Just have a drink whenever he has a drink on film. So don't drink. You don't have to drink as much as you think he's drinking. That's playing it on hard mode. If you want to drink as much as you think he's drinking, you have to drink until you give yourself a seizure. So maybe don't do that. Just take a drink with him every time he drinks on screen, and you'll probably get through a couple drinks, and it would just be a fun game. But you could also enjoy this movie sober. I certainly did in the movie theater.
I would say pour a new drink every time, and this might be a lot, but every time the music is like the focal point. So I think you need a drink through the music, but it's always in the background. But every time it like takes center stage, so like the Irish dance scene,
that's like 9 different times in this
the
movie.
amazing, like when they're sitting on the bench and they're playing "Go Lassie Go," which I love that song. When they play to the bouncer, the scene, all that jazz. I think those are the times you need a new drink in your hand, and then you drink through the rest of the musical background, and then when a new song appears, you pour a new drink. So that's mine.
Wow. I would go for the Irish ale. So finest Irish beer you can get to start off, followed by an Irish whiskey, followed by a Italian wine, and then sometime of your choice at the end of the film, you'll need a corn liquor.
All right.
Jeremy?
Well, drink of choice. Do what you feel personally. If you're going for the full experience, get something unidentifiable in one of those big jugs with a handle on it with just 3 X's on the side. Be drinking out of that,
Yep.
And you'll want to take a good drink at the beginning when they do the whole opening of like, I bet you're wondering how I got here type opening. Great, you love that. You'll want probably something basically every time a vampire just asks to go in someplace, so you don't wonder to yourself like, this is a vampire, what?
That'd be a good one. Yeah.
Maybe he just can he just burn the house down? What if he just did that?
Yeah, in theory, you could do that.
Yeah, in theory, he could do that. You'll want also a drink every time Smoke takes off a necklace like a psychopath, just yanking it off like that's a thing that people do anywhere but in movies. Maybe take it off like you're going to wear it again sometime, or like anybody else can wear that again. Maybe do that, Smoke.
Yeah, especially when it's hanging mid-chest. Real easy to pull that thing over the head. Like, you don't have to go behind with the clasp or anything like that.
Yeah, there's no clasp. You don't have to untie a knot. You just, and then there you go. Right. And then I guess, have a drink in solidarity with me when you realize that if you had a hive mind at your disposal, you would for sure start a band with it.
Sure.
And yeah, so I don't know. I don't know what the number comes out to. It's higher.
You can calculate it yourself, folks.
Yeah, do the math.
Yeah,
I'm not
do
here
the
to do that
math.
for you.
We're here. You can rewind this motherfucker if you have to, and you can figure that all out. Something you luckily won't have to figure out is where to find Djeli Clark, so that you can buy and read all of his shit, because he's going to tell you, I hope, right now.
You can find me at pjellyclark.com, and you can buy my stuff at all book selling places.
Hell yeah. And we look forward to everything you have coming out, man. Thank you so much for coming out to be on this ridiculous show. We really appreciate you.
Tiamat says goodbye and thank you.
Oh, that's so sweet.
Goodbye, everybody. Goodbye, viewers. We've been the usual people. Thank you.
Been great. All right.
Bye. There.
All right.
All right.